Have the offensive floodgates opened up? Have the boys in orange and blue woken up? We'll find out tonight as we get you set for the Oilers and Rangers on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the pregame show. Tom Gazzola with you on this Thursday night. The Oilers take it on the New York Rangers and closing out the season series between these two teams. The Oilers, of course, winning that game back at MSG. It was just their third of the season by a score of 2-0 a couple of weeks ago. Of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. You can get into the conversation. Text us 780-218-9999. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate it very much. And you can get into the nasty chat as well. Thoughts on this game? Do you think the Oilers have turned the corner? That offensive outburst, second time in 4 games, they've scored 6 goals. Have they woken up? I don't know. I mean, we've seen this team go back into hiding after big performances like we did over the weekend. Or maybe they have actually said enough is enough, like Matthias Ekholm was saying following the win over Utah that snapped the Mammoths' 7-game winning streak. We want to hear from you. Let us know how you feel going into this one. And fire it up in the text line as well as the inbox. The Oilers 5-4-2. The Rangers 4-5-2. The Rangers coming off a 2-0 win in Vancouver. All right, Benny Thompson's back at the EST Global HQ. Matty Kassian will be stopping by for Game Changers in about 5 minutes' time. And then our buddy Stephen Wino from the Associated Press will be joining us live at about 6:30. We'll also go one-on-one with Andrew Mangiapane. I had a chance to speak with him earlier today down at Rogers Place. Benny T, what's going on, big boy?
Nothing much, Tom. Just preparing for a good night here, hopefully, in Edmonton. As Oilers and the Rangers at Rogers Place, their final matchup of the year. It should be entertaining. This is a game I'm very, very curious to see what Oilers team we get tonight. We'll get into it, obviously, but I'm very curious what kind of team we see tonight.
Do you think we're going to see the team from the weekend, all fat and sassy, or do you think we're going to see the team that played a really good game starting in the second period on Tuesday night against Utah?
I would like to think that this team took a turn after that first intermission. They know that their start was not very good.
Right.
And their starts have been bad. And that happened again on Tuesday night. But obviously, it's been documented that someone, or at least a leadership group, came up and said something in that first intermission along with Chris Knobloch. And obviously, and that second period was fantastic. Probably their best hockey the best period of hockey this year. And so, and then the third period, they close it out. So I would like to think that they carry that, but it's also the Edmonton Oilers. And they like to make things hard on themselves. And I mentioned on the post-game show Tuesday night, they tend to play down to their opponent way too often. And the New York Rangers aren't the best team this year, at least as of right now. And, the Oilers should be the favorites going into this game. Do they play down to them tonight? Is a tough question, but I like to think the Oilers play better today, and they play a similar-ish game to how they played Utah.
Well, honestly, if they truly believe enough is enough diddling around and kind of wading their way into games, then they should be able to take this game from the Rangers, being the key word there. Now, they didn't play a particularly strong game at MSG. It was the third game of the season. It started off what was a pretty bad road trip. Would they go 2-3-2 on that trip?
Yeah.
Or no, pardon me, 2-3, not 2-3-2. Yes. It was a 5-gamer. Yeah. And then, we kind of saw that same stagnant type of play when they came back. They had that little burst against Montreal, which was nice. Then they had that weekend in Seattle and Vancouver where you're like, that's the team that went on the road a week ago out east and kind of was meh, as you like to say.
Yeah,
meh. And then they were meh in the first period on Tuesday, and then they were outstanding the rest of the way. So I don't know. Does that lead us to the question of the night? Because this team can go a million different ways. It's just, wherever way the wind blows, it might take them. So
the question of the night is sort of around the fact of like how they've been playing recently. So I know we haven't gotten to lineups yet, but we do know.
You want me to?
Yeah, let's do that.
Does it help the question of the night?
Yes, it does.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's get into your lineups for tonight, leading into the question of the night for the Oilers. Same lineup that we saw get the win against Utah. McDavid with Nugent Hopkins and Mangiapane. Draisaitl between Podkolzin and Roslovic. Henrique centering Savoy and Frederick. Howard and Tomaszek are your extra forwards. They are going 11-7 again. On defense, Nurse with Bouchard. Ekholm with Wallman. Kulak with Emerson. Stetcher. Again, that was going into last game. So we'll see if they have Ekholm back with Bouchard. Nurse down with Wallman. Kulak and Emerson. And then I know today Chris Knobloch was talking about rotating in that seventh defenseman. We'll see how much Troy Stetcher actually plays tonight. As for the Rangers, Mika Zibanejad between Artemi Panarin and Will Cooley. JT Miller centering Connor Sheary and Alexi Lafreniere. Noah Laba between Juuso Parssinen and Taylor Radish. Sam Carrick between Adam Edstrom and Johnny Brodzinski. You'll recall it was Kempe that was on, or not Kempe, Rempe that was on that line. And they gave the Oilers fits at MSG with Edstrom, Carrick, and Rempe. And Rempe's out as I get to the injury report. On defense, Vladislav Gavrikov with Adam Fox, Carson Soucy with Will Borgen, Urho Vakanainen. I love that name. Good Finnish name. Urho Vakanainen with Braden Schneider out for tonight. I know a lot of people wanted to see Matthew Robertson, the hometown kid, get into action against his hometown team. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. He was skating as an extra, as Molly Walker reported, and then Brennan Othman, the other, expected to be out. Your starting goalies for tonight, 26-year-old Stu Skinner, 3-3-1 this season, 241 GAA, 898 save percentage with one shutout in 7 games. I did see some comments post-game the other night about his save percentage dipping below 900. Yes, acknowledged. I see it. It doesn't hurt my feelings, though. Skinner, 4-1 lifetime versus the Rangers, 1.80 goals against average, 941 save percentage, one shutout in those 5 games versus New York. And then at the other end of the rink, 29-year-old Igor Shesterkin, 2-4-2 with a 225 goals against average, 916 save percentage, one shutout in 8 games this season. He is 1-3 lifetime versus the Oilers, a 3.0 goals against average, 886 save percentage in 4 games versus Edmonton over the course of his career. That takes us to the Advantage Sport Medicine and Physiotherapy injury report. Connor McDavid's got a team of specialists. You've got a bag of frozen peas. Get the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game at Advantage Sport Medicine. Book your assessment today. www.advantagesportmed.ca or call 780-460-9977. For the Oil, Zach Hyman, IR wrist. He's getting closer. He's back on the ice again today. Kasperi Kapanen, IR knee. Matthias Janmark, IR undisclosed. Alec Regula, IR upper body. Janmark and Regula were also on the ice today, I should note. For the Rangers, Matt Rempe, like I mentioned before, he's out indefinitely, upper body. And Vincent Trocheck, IR upper body. Benny Thompson, that brings us to the question of the night before we get into Game Changers with Matt Kassian.
Okay, so with Chris Knobloch going back to 11-7, do you think the coaching staff is making this decision because they are worried about their defensive play, running 6 defensemen, or are they trying to spread out the minutes better for their offense? That's going to be the question. Do you think it's to protect some guys on defense, or is it to spread out the ice time on offense? Let us know.
Well, I'll take a crack at that as we get Cass in here because I'm curious to think or know what he thinks about it. Who said it the other day that I think Reed said it on the post-game show that when they win, Chris Knobloch likes to keep that group together. Yeah. Doesn't like to change it all that much. I'm wondering how much of it is that it worked the other night. They want to do the same thing and reward that group again. But like you've got Noah Phelps sitting there waiting. He has been good in the limited minutes he's played. A lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah.
Knobloch today talked about like having enough forwards that it kind of, as he put it, ices out the 3rd and 4th line.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's really a concern. Bouchard and Nurse, Bouchard was better the other night. I'll say that. Benny, I don't know. I just feel like he's sticking with what worked the other night. That's my answer.
That's probably the right answer, and I think it's a little bit of a mix of both. I think he likes the idea of having that seventh guy if they need to throw him out. And with McDavid and Draisaitl being on the PK, that's more minutes you're adding to them, right? So,
yeah.
Having 11 forwards and being able to rotate those guys in once the PK is over helps as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't see 11-7 being a long-term solution for this team. I don't think
and he said that today too.
Exactly. So, we'll see. But right now, I mean, it won you a game against Utah where you guys played pretty well for 2/3 of the game. So we'll see what happens tonight.
All right, let's bring in Matt Kassian, our game analyst. He's ready to go. Cass, what would you say to the question of the night with, Knoblauch going 11-7, concern on defense, concern at forward, just rolling with what got the win the other night? How do you look at it?
Well, it's a little bit of everything, because if they didn't get the win and it didn't work, might be going 12-6. I don't know. However, based on some other factors, and the primary one being, even if it was just for a few minutes, the benching of Darnell Nurse, even if it was just for a couple minutes, still sends a pretty strong message. And having 7D enables you to do that. So there's a little bit of, it works. It worked. You stick with the winning lineup, put them back out there again. Lots of coaches do that. There's some truth to that for sure. But I do think there is a little bit for Bouchard and for Darnell Nurse in particular. There is a little bit of that leverage being applied. Now, that doesn't mean, as some people wish, Bouchard's going to all of a sudden has a bad game. He's not going to play the rest of the game, or Darnell Nurse is not going to play the rest of the game, or all of a sudden they're going to find themselves healthy scratch in the press box. That's still very unlikely to happen. However, for a couple minutes at a time, for a shift or two, to send a message to those guys and to everybody else on the team that you have to be playing and playing well, I mean, I can get behind it, and I do think there is a strong element of that to it.
All right. What say you? Text us 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat as well. Cass, you ready to go for Game Changers, big boy?
Absolutely.
All
How
right.
can I not be?
I know. Game Changers brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in the greater Edmonton area for over 18 years. He's community driven and understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Number one, Robert Louis Stevenson.
I was curious as if you would have picked up on this one or not, Tommy, knowing that you are a very literate person. But that is actually the author of the novella Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Ooh, well played, sir.
Yeah, and hey, there's a couple Dr. Jekylls and Mr. Hydes, both in the Oilers lineup as well as in the lineup for the New York Rangers, two teams that have both at the start of the season had their very own novella of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where, they're doing it to themselves, both teams at times. The Edmonton Oilers with their inability to execute, their inability to score, their inability to generate offense, and the New York Rangers with the very same thing, their inability to score on the power play, albeit having some very talented forwards that should be able to put up points. Think of a power play of Zibanejad, Panarin, and JT Miller with Adam Fox at the point. You're like, with those four guys, you probably should be putting up some points, but their power play is absolutely stunk out the joint. They have, it feels like 10 shutouts this year. Like, they're either getting shut out or they're the team shutting someone out. Like, it's just completely polar opposites in terms of the types of games. And for the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, just look no further than the game against Utah as far as how that first part of the game went, and then the second part of the game went, where it was just two completely different teams. And they talk about it. Ekholm talks about, the bar and the standard and this and that. And I get that. I understand that. And I don't expect them to play at that high intensity all year round. But guys, that was really the first time they had any kind of sustained jump like that since game 2 of the season against Vancouver. But it has truly been just Jekyll and Hyde back and forth. And again, true to the novella, he's doing it to himself. The Oilers have done it to themselves. Like, when they have played that way, it's not other teams forcing them to. It's just the Edmonton Oilers and the makeup of this team at start of seasons. that really seems to struggle. Now, maybe we're through that 10 games and they're like, okay, well, now it's time to go. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that sustains and if they're able to carry that through from the game against Utah today. And for the New York Rangers, they're looking for some consistency as well. They did have a good game against Vancouver, but have really been back and forth otherwise. You look at the game against Calgary prior to them playing Vancouver, and they got absolutely shellacked. I think it was that 5-1, 6-1, got absolutely spanked. And from watching the game, Calgary just absolutely took it to them. So we've seen just these dramatic swings from the New York Rangers in this season as well. And for both teams, it's what version is going to show up tonight. Are you going to have the docile, quiet, sleepy one, or are you going to have the out there trying to go crazy and murder people? And from a hockey standpoint, I don't know which one's better. I don't know which one we want for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know which is Jekyll and Hyde, but we want whichever one's going to win them the hockey game. We have to see what version shows up, and same thing for the New York Rangers. And for both of these, the team that actually is able to come out and execute on a game plan, they're going to be the team that wins. And what would really be interesting, guys, is if both teams have a good game and we can kind of look at this and say, okay, both teams are playing well. What do we have here from both groups, from the Edmonton Oilers and from the New York Rangers?
When these two teams get together in Edmonton, there is a penchant for something crazy to happen. And it's kind of gone back over the last decade plus, where something wild just seems to happen or come out of these Oilers-Rangers matchups in Edmonton. We talked about it a bit yesterday, like Henrik Lundqvist laughing off a 2-0 shutout win, where he's like, I didn't really face any good chances. And then it was Dallas Eakins getting relieved of his duties the next day. There was the John Tortorella, we sucked from head to toe press conference that lasted all of 16 seconds. That happened here. And Matt Iwanek was in that scrum. And if you go back and see the video, you could see Iwanek, a young Iwanek in there. We've seen like the crazy comeback that Leon Draisaitl called. He said something to the bench a couple of years ago to the Rangers, and the Oilers stormed their way back. There was a crazy McDavid goal. There just always seems to be something when these two teams get together here in Edmonton. And, you talk about Jekyll and Hyde, boys. The wins for the Rangers this year, their 4 wins, they came against Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Montreal, and then they beat Vancouver. They've lost to Pittsburgh, Washington, Edmonton. OT lost to the Leafs, lost to Minnie, overtime lost to San Jose, and then, like Cass alluded to, got their asses handed to them 5-1 in Calgary a few nights ago. So, yeah, totally Jekyll and Hyde. Do you want to jump on that at all, Benny, or do you want to move on to point number 2?
Yeah, just quickly, Cass pretty much hit all the points. They're just such a weird team. They should have... off of name value alone, that top 6 at least looks pretty damn good. They should be a team that's competing for a playoff, deep in the playoff. They are I don't know if they're a contender, because I think they lack depth, and they've relied on Shesterkin for too many years, in my opinion, and it's starting to show now. But they have the proper guys, but it just seems like they don't have the gelling of a team. You know what I mean? The team, it's not even the same sport. The team that shows that they're a team is the Blue Jays right now. That's who I compare what a team.
No Blue Jays talk. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We'll move on. No, but the Blue Jays are a team, and you can see that in their game. The Rangers, they're the polar opposite. I feel like they don't have that they just don't battle for each other. It seems like. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how they play tonight though.
All right, Robert Louis Stevenson, that was point number 1. I did look him up. Cass, why do people from the 1800s look so creepy?
Probably because, I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know what he looks like, so I can't tell you. But
I looked it up.
You got to remember, too, he's a guy that's writing creepy stuff. I mean, gothic style literature.
Yes.
And he's from England, so
that's a creepy equation then.
Yeah.
All right, point number 2 of Game Changers tonight. We talked about a little bit. I'm curious to hear what Cass has to say. 11-7.
Yeah, well, we did start to talk about it already, but it's fun to talk about. So we'll just keep going here, fellas. Yeah, a little bit of a different look. There's some thought to me here that this seems to be the first time that we have seen for one of his bigger name players, defenseman or forward, that he has been willing to sit them on the bench. Now, again, it was only like 6 or 7 minutes for Darnell Nurse, but he did it. We haven't seen him do that since he took over as head coach. Now, he, as you already mentioned, likes to run with the same lineup typically once they win. So they do roll it back out there today. But you get that little bit of a different look. And from a forward group, you guys have also talked about it a little bit already. But guys, it's yes, you can spread the minutes out because you have one less person you're giving those forward minutes to. But to me, you still don't want McDavid and Draisaitl playing like 23, 24, 25 minutes a night. And yes, they didn't have to quite get to that with the Utah, and you're able to roll lines a little bit more, and I appreciate that, and it does give you a couple of different looks. But to me, still long-term, you want your depth guys to be able to penalty kill and play minutes in different times and let McDavid and Draisaitl go out and try to score 5-on-5. I mean, that's what you want. I don't know that 11-7 is a long-term fix. However, if it is with the purpose here of Knoblauch sending a little bit of a message or a big message to some of his players, both the bottom-end players and the top-end players, that, hey, you're not playing well, even if it's for a short period of time, there's still going to be some consequences here. I think that's a solid, positive thing for this group. We've seen him do it before in the past. Again, not long-term sustainable, but against a New York group that does have some forwards that can go. It just and is a little top heavy, I would say, from their top two lines in terms of their offensive capacity or capability. I don't mind having that extra defenseman in the lineup that if someone's having an off night, a bad night, Stetcher can step in and hopefully give you some steady minutes.
All right, let's move on to point number 3 right here on Game Changers. Game Changers is always brought to you by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Point number 1, Robert Louis Stevenson. He wrote Jekyll and Hyde. Point number 2, 11-7. Point number 3, Cass, something the Oilers have done 4 times this season out of their 11 games is score first.
Yeah, that's 4-11. That's not enough. I think what's funny is in years past, we have talked a lot about the Edmonton Oilers at the start of games. And I feel like we haven't talked about it as much because in years past, it was like they would have a horrible first 5 minutes of the game and then they'd figure it out and they'd have a great game. And so we were talking about that start all the time. That start. I feel like they've been so blah, like for the entirety of so many games that we just have kind of glossed over that. Like we haven't really talked about, hey, this team hasn't found a way to score a goal at the start of a hockey game.
Right.
This team hasn't found a way to control the play from the start of a hockey game. And for the Edmonton Oilers against, again, a New York team that has been Jekyll and Hyde in their own right, very good some nights, like against Vancouver, very poor other nights, you want to be the type of team that creates doubt in their minds in those instances. The Edmonton Oilers have not done that so far this year. Now, they put the league on notice in some ways with the finish to the Utah game of like, oh yeah, there's that team that we know can be a really good team. We'll see if they can do it out of the gate. New York's going to be doing what they can to try to slow you down and try to stop it. But guys, that start for the Edmonton Oilers tonight, so key. And you see it in the record. I know it's an old Kevin Constantine stat, which I have no idea how accurate it is these days, but his stat was you have an 80% chance to win if you score first. And, it makes sense because you already have one goal more than the other team. They now have to score 2. So statistically, such a better chance of winning. And realistically, we look at the Oilers' record, even in the 4 that they've scored first, it's a pretty darn good record. So that start tonight is essential. That first goal is essential. Let's see if that version of the Edmonton Oilers that comes out of the gates hot is here today, or if it's the other one that just kind of bleh.
Bleh. Do the word. Do it, Benny.
Blech.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
They've done that this year. All right, yeah. Steve Wino standing by. We'll get to him in a couple of minutes. Cass, I want to get to this text that comes in. It says, hey, guys, I'm curious as to why McDavid and Draisaitl are penalty killing. I like it once in a while, but I don't get the regular rotation. I'm sure you have answered this before, but I'm curious. I'll pass that one off to you, Cass.
Yeah, we have talked about it, and it's still a great question. And it's one that we probably will continue to ask over the course of the season if they continue to do it. The answer is, I don't know. Well, I do know, but I also don't know. What I do know is their penalty kill was so atrocious last year that they're like, hey, we got to get this thing a little bit better. And you want to make something better on your team? You play McDavid and Draisaitl, two of the best players in the world. Yeah, it's probably going to get better. And we've seen that this year from a percentage standpoint, that the Edmonton Oilers are killing penalties about 30% better than they were last year at this point when they were like 50% on the penalty kill. That's the reason why. Now, is it sustainable? I don't think so. Is it wise? I also don't think so. Like you should be on the penalty kill for McDavid and Draisaitl. If it's right at the end of the period, sure. Get them out there. Go for it. If it's at the end of the game, you're down a couple goals, or it's at the end of the game and you're up a couple goals or up a goal, great. Throw them out there. Give yourselves the best chance at it. Like, absolutely. Put them out there. But from a sustainability, from an injuries, from a blocking shots, from a fatigue and wear and tear over the course of the season, penalty killing is hard. And yes, it can back some teams off. Yes, maybe against some specific power play units, does having that speed and that threat give you a little bit of an advantage? Sure, maybe. But you can't tell me that's every night. And the reason that you have an 11-7 situation is partially because of that. Right, like it's just so much more ideal to me to have the Matt Savoys of the world killing up front. Now, part of that as well is you don't trust your defensemen. That's also what it tells me, and that you need McDavid and Draisaitl. Like because if we're looking at where the Oilers' penalty kill has suffered and struggled, some people, and fairly so in some instances, would say goaltending. But right next to that is defensemen. You know, the forwards haven't been as much of an issue as the defensemen have, but I think they're trying to compensate maybe for some of that with McDavid and Draisaitl out there. But at the end of the day, I don't love it. Again, situationally, sure, but as a regular thing, not a fan.
Cass, we are big fans of you, and we're big fans of Game Changers, and that was an excellent segment of Game Changers. Thanks, buddy, and we'll see you on the post-game show.
Thanks, guys. Sounds good.
There you go. There's our game analyst, Matt Kassian, with Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Real Estate. You can text us 780-218-9999. You could also get into the nasty chat as well if you're watching on YouTube. Before we get to Steve Wino from the AP, we're going to get to your game day odds check, brought to you by Play Alberta. Play in Alberta, because it stays in Alberta. Safe and secure. The revenue generated from Play Alberta is redirected into Alberta's General Revenue Fund, which is used to support programs and services that Albertans rely on every day. These are going to refresh in a couple of days. We'll get the confirmation from Dusty and Play Alberta. But right now, if you haven't hit it yet, you can use the promo code EST50. Get a $50 deposit for a $50 free bet. EST Casino, that's another $50 deposit. Gets you $50 at the casino as a bonus. And then EST Sports, another $50 deposit for a $50 free bet. Your money line tonight, Edmonton the favorite at minus 167. They got the Rangers at plus 141. The over-under set at 5.5. Over is the favorite at minus 139. Under set at plus 101. Remember, if you're betting, use your game sense. All right, let's bring them in. It is our good friend, Stephen Wino, who's no stranger to this program. I don't know if Ben and Steve have met. Have you guys met?
No,
you haven't. Steve, so we brought Steve in on the Hangout back in the day during the Cup final. Yeah, Ben, he was before your time. So, yeah, let's bring in Steve, our good pal, covering the Rangers. What other beats are you on right now? You're on the Jets. You're on the Giants. Let's get Steve on here.
Well, for some reason, it's not.
It's not bringing him on. There he is. Hi, Steve.
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm on everything, Tom. I was at the U.S. Olympic Media Summit, the Ryder Cup, U.S. Open tennis.
Did we lose?
Did we lose Steve? Oh no. Oh no. Steve, reconnect. Well, we'll tell him to reconnect. All right. In the meantime, as he reconnects, let's get to some quick text here. Coach Mike says, why not Frederick on the PK? Give him something to do other than the goal versus New York. He's been a phantom to start the season. I wonder if foot speed would be an issue, Coach Mike, for Trent Frederick on the PK. All right, Steve's back. We got him. Here we go. Okay.
We're here for now.
You got to Olympic camp, and then what else?
Ryder Cup golf. I was there for that. U.S. Open tennis, Giants football, and on all the craziness there. But always great to be here with you guys in Edmonton.
Oh, that's why you're the best, Steve. Are you going to be making your way to town anytime?
Oh, always in June. You know this. I don't really make it there until June, but when they're in the Cup final in June, I'll be there.
Okay, good. We're going to hold you to that, and we'll go out, and I think there's a seat waiting for you at Kelly's, as you know.
I think there's a seat always waiting for me at Kelly's.
Yeah, well, you are good friends with the mayor, and that is Derek Van Diest, of course. So, okay, Cass was just on. I know you saw and you were listening to him. His first point on Game Changers was Robert Louis Stevenson. I feel like you might know who that is. Do you know Robert Louis Stevenson?
Talking about the poet Robert Louis Stevenson?
Yeah, he wrote Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
Yeah, so he described both of these teams as Jekyll and Hyde tonight. Is that fair to assess the Rangers that way from what you've seen?
Yeah, they've had some good and bad days. I'm not going to go that extreme because even when they weren't scoring at home or scoring goals, they were always creating chances. So, I mean, and maybe there's not a lot of talent there, and they've been missing Vincent Trocheck for most of the season. They have a new coach and a new system in Mike Sullivan. And so I think I've got a little more rope for what the Rangers are doing. And even for the Oilers, with so many new forwards, 7 new forwards, 8 new forwards, whatever it is, I think I have a little more rope for sort of the variances in a team's game that we've seen so far. But with the Rangers, it's like there's been times where Igor Shesterkin was terrific and then terrible. And I think there's a little bit of that. But there's been a more good than bad recently, I think, even though the Rangers were on a losing streak, that there's stuff that you could start to see building here, but also signs that maybe they're not talented enough to be a playoff team.
It's crazy because 2 years ago, they were the President's Trophy winners. And then how would you describe the fall from grace last season?
Well, a lot has changed. I mean, you have Jacob Trouba, you have Barclay Goodrow thrown on waivers, you have Jacob Trouba traded, and sort of everything falls apart. And last year was an example of all the players who were really good weren't as good as they should have been. Like really, when you have great players who aren't great and they're just good or not good enough, you're going to lose. And so Chris Drury tried to sort of remake the blue line. He brought in Will Borgen, brought in Carson Soucy, tried to redo everything. Gone is K'Andre Miller. Gone was Jacob Trouba. You bring in Vladislav Gavrikov now, but everything sort of fell apart because the players weren't good enough. Because Zibanejad was not great last season. Artemi Panarin was maybe their only player who was a point a game up to expectations. Igor Shesterkin tried to save them, but they just weren't good enough. And Peter Laviolette ends up taking the fall for that. And you bring in a coach in Mike Sullivan who clearly is good. He's the U.S. Olympic coach. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, knows what he's doing, and is trying to sort of bring a little bit of a culture change with JT Miller and Mike Sullivan into this locker room of maybe this group was a little soft before and trying to sort of toughen this team up to where when they are hitting the post, when they are not scoring, that they're not just going to fold in a game or let it snowball over a series of games like it looked like they were doing at home earlier in the season.
Stephen Wino joining us now from the Associated Press, covering the New York Rangers, among many other things in the sporting world. These two teams played earlier in the season, Steve, and it was the Oilers that won 2-0. It wasn't a particularly exciting game to watch that day. There was a lot of blah, as we were saying, in that game. Is that kind of the Rangers' identity so far? Do they have an identity? How would you describe them?
Well, they don't have an identity yet. And I think that's what Mike Sullivan's trying to figure out with this group is what are they? And then probably the Rangers probably deserve to win that game against the Oilers. I was there at Madison Square Garden that night, and Stuart Skinner was terrific. And the Rangers were just snake bitten. They were every post, every opportunity, couldn't put the puck in the net, all these sort of things. And Mike Sullivan at practice last week basically had called out his team and said, you're not exactly filling the net up. So maybe hustle a little bit more, maybe defend a little bit harder, maybe do the other things better because they're not scoring like crazy. But are they built to score like crazy? I think the question always has been, is this roster flawed or is this a team that, okay, you've got Panarin, you've got Zibanejad, JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, guys who are high-end talent, Adam Fox on the blue line, who should be able to do these things. But we don't know what this team is yet. Adam Fox is their leading scorer. Mika Zibanejad's probably been the best player on the ice for most of the season for them. But it's not like there's a cohesiveness yet because you've had problems like Trocheck getting hurt and just sort of the lineup moving around. Matt Rempe is out long-term with that thumb injury. So you have sort of parts of they want to be a hard team to play against, which every coach and every team and every player says forever that they want to be. But so far, it doesn't look like, and maybe Vancouver the other night was a blueprint of that when Jonathan Quick shut out the Canucks, of that's the kind of team they want to be.
Steve, I know there's been like rumors and there's always discussion when a team is struggling, and the Rangers are a team that has had its ups and downs even early this season, but before that win against the Canucks. And people are talking about potential trades. Like, could Artemi Panarin be on the move? Do you think Chris Drury's willing to move out a bunch of guys that have been here for a long time? Could they blow this thing up even more, in your opinion, from what you've seen and heard so far?
Not yet, Tom, and that's something that I think is a February after the Olympics conversation. If this team doesn't look like it is supposed to look, and Artemi Panarin and the Rangers do not have an extension done, that's a conversation they can have at that point. Mm-hmm. But after not being able to bring in a Kaprizov or Kyle Connor or Jack Eichel, one of these big free agents that the Rangers would have had salary cap space for, I wonder if they don't circle back to Artemi Panarin and say, let's make sure we keep the talent we have. Even listening to Chris McFarland after the Avalanche signed Marty Necas today, that free agency is not it anymore. So maybe you just got to keep your talent you get, and whether that's a talent you trade for like Necas and Rantanen and whatever, that you can't go shopping like you used to be able to go, even for middle level players. So I don't think there's a blowing up. This team's still in a win now mode, and I don't know how delusional or not delusional or whatever that is. But when you've got Igor Shesterkin in the middle of his prime, and Adam Fox in his prime, and you hope to get more out of Mika Zibanejad, and he's looked really good, to be fair, early on. I don't think there's anywhere close to blowing it up. I think it's a sort of stay the course. It's very early in a long season with a new coach, and you sort of let it go. If the trouble sort of lasts into the Olympic break, and that maybe the conversation changes. But I feel like this is let's see what Mike Sullivan can do with this group.
All right. We're going to see the Oilers and the Rangers close out the season series tonight. Stephen Wino joining us now from the Associated Press. Do we get an exciting game, Steve? At the top of the show, I was talking about how, for whatever reason, whenever the Oilers and Rangers play here in Edmonton, something wild seems to happen. And it's kind of happened over the last decade or so. Do you think we're going to in for some kind of something special or crazy, or are we going to get another MSG part 2 where it's just kind of blah again, for lack of a better term?
I hope you see something crazy. And look, there's enough talent on this team. And you guys were talking about Draisaitl and McDavid penalty killing, which I happen to like. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion from knowing those guys and all that. Maybe my concern would be about them overplaying the minutes and all that. But yeah, something crazy is going to happen because you've got 97 and 29 and you're not going to get the fight. Like, I got to see Ryan Reeves and Matt Rempe fight at Madison Square Garden. Like, it was Ali and Frazier back in the 80s and back in the 70s, and now it's Rempe and Reeves in the middle of the Garden. We're not going to get that because you don't have Matt Rempe.
Yeah.
But there's enough chaos potential on these teams to see something wacky happen. And Igor Shesterkin had a .953 save percentage 3 or 4 games in the year, best in the NHL. He's down to .916. Not saying that he's a problem, but there's an adventure aspect now to the way the Rangers are defending, keeping the puck out of their own net. That I would bet the over on that 5.5.
Nice. I think the over is favored. I was going to ask you about your observations of the Oilers, because I know you keep tabs on everybody. I don't know how you do it, but you're a busy guy. What have you seen, heard, or noticed about the Oilers so far? Because, there was some strife and some panic with a slower start, and the defense kind of being a pain in the butt to some fans, and then the lack of depth scoring and this and that. What have you observed so far about the Oilers?
The fact that I got a week with them in New York. I went to all three of their games in the New York area, at the Rangers, at the Islanders, at the Devils. I got to see sort of a little bit of that. They won the game at Madison Square Garden and kind of didn't have it as much on the island, didn't have it as much. And that was a terrible game by Evan Bouchard. That was the worst game that anybody's ever seen an NHL player making $11 million play. And to his credit, came out and talked to us anyway. But and then that kind of a dud on against New Jersey on a Saturday afternoon. But what I saw was a team still trying to figure out all these new guys. And like, I understand why Stan Bowman brought in new blood and all of that. It's just a question of, do you like the guys they brought in? Like, do you like Jack Roslovic? Do you like Matt Savoy? Do you think Isaac Howard's going to be the answer? And when I say you, I mean Connor McDavid. I mean co-GM Connor McDavid. Does he like that? And Stuart Skinner is always fun to watch because you don't know if he's going to be Ken Dryden or you and me in the net. And that's always fun to not have any idea what to expect from Stuart Skinner. But there certainly was a not even disjointed, but there's still a lot to happen. And you can't win the Stanley Cup in October or November. And it's almost like and I did cover the Capitals for so many years, that you might as well wake us up in April. As long as this team gets in, I'm not necessarily worried because of the high-end talent there. Maybe you worry about the goaltender and who's going to be stopping the puck. But it certainly looks like a team that is a slow burn away from being what it's supposed to be eventually, if you like the players they brought in. And that's part of the, like, I look at the roster and it's like, kind of a weird mix, but maybe with Chris Knobloch and how good he is at this, that he can make it work.
What do you have on the docket this weekend? What's your assignment, or do you get the weekend off this week?
I got to do Giants 49ers on Sunday.
Nice.
The Christian McCaffrey might run all over the Giants. I hope you have Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football, because I think he's going to have an insane day.
I love it. Steve, always good to see you. Thank you for doing this tonight, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Talk to you soon, Tom. Enjoy the game.
There you go. Stephen Wino from the Associated Press, one of my favorites. Absolutely tremendous guy. Great reporter. Great dude, and a pleasure to have him on the program. Benny Thompson, what'd you make of what Steve had to say tonight?
Yeah, I appreciate his perspective, obviously, from following the team, because they're like, because the Rangers to me are one of the biggest, like, why is this happening to them? Like, you know what I mean? It's hard to draw up answers for why this team isn't doing better than they are. I feel like there's always those teams, though. Like every year, there's always one or two teams you're like, that roster does not match
right,
their record. But he described it perfectly for last year. It's like all their top guys had below average seasons for their standard, right? And when as a collective that all happens at the same time, you're bound to have a worse team, and missing the playoffs last year. So, and I personally could see them making the playoffs this year, and they still can, obviously. But right now, it's interesting to see if they end up pulling it out, man. Like, because Shesterkin's a great goalie, and Fox, and I don't need to go through every guy, but they have solid guys there. It's about if they play for each other enough.
Yeah, that's a good point. The team thing you were talking about earlier, compared them to the Blue Jays, who are playing like a team on the cusp, one win away from another World Series. That would be the third in franchise history, first since 93. This text says, after watching the Oilers the last few years, I've learned to care about how the Oil look in October about as much as Rufus Wainwright cares about the anthem lyrics. That was so bad. I'm pretty sure he's Canadian. I remember he was
dual citizenship.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like he was early 2000s. There was like kind of glam rock was coming back a bit.
Yep.
And it was like Rufus Wainwright and Hawksley Workman and a couple of others. And I was like, this guy's different. He had a couple music videos on Much Music, and I was like, okay. and then he pops up yesterday. I'm like, where the hell did they find him? What is he doing these days?
They should have kept him
wherever. Yeah, that was
wherever he was. Keep him there. That was
pretty bad. That was pretty bad. It was a bad anthem for sure, in both languages. So we can wholeheartedly acknowledge that. All right, keep your text coming in 780-218-9999. We're gonna get to them. We are gonna go to the Oilers locker room. I had a chance to speak with Andrew Mangiapane. First time talking to him. Outstanding guy, Ben.
Yeah.
Just like really nice guy. Yeah. He was talking about, Gene, I was waiting. Andrew Peard lined up the interview, and I'm waiting. And then me and Gene were talking, and then Gene starts talking to him. They're talking about like the Italian Center. And then he goes, oh yeah, Tom's waiting for you. He's a Paisan too. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you. And then Gene kept blabbing. And then finally Peard was like, okay, Andrew, Tom wanted to talk to you. He's like, oh, yeah, sorry. And then we actually started by talking about the Italian Center and the paninis that we all love to indulge in. So here it is. Andrew Mangiapane from earlier today. I had a chance to catch up with him. All right, Andrew, I see you met my Uncle Gene. Yeah. What's it like when he's telling you, let's go for a cafe to Spinelli's Italian Center shop?
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, fellow Italian, right? So he's always in my ear about some Italian culture or something like that, right? So, the Italian Center Shop's great. Been there, went a couple times, coffee, food, get some groceries done and all that. So it's a good spot to go for me.
Okay, last one on the Italian Center Shop. A good panino. Have you had it there yet?
The which one?
It's just the panino. It's just in the fridge. You go and you grab it. $10. Get a Canotto.
The hot one, the spicy one. Yeah. I like that one. That one's a staple in my house.
Good. Speaking of your house, I hear you got a young one at home. How has the whole adjustment to being an Oiler, being back in Alberta, how's that gone for you?
It's been smooth. It's been a smooth transition. That was one of the reasons why I think we wanted to come back, is we knew what we were kind of getting in Alberta. Obviously, cities are a little bit different, but they're also really similar, and the people are similar, and just the lifestyle, right? So we knew what we were getting. We were comfortable, and just having a little one, he's making life a little bit uncomfortable, but it's been good, right? He's been awesome, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Hey, on the ice, it looks like things are pretty comfortable for you. How has that been, getting used to these guys, coming to a team that's been to the Cup final the last couple of years?
It's been an easy transition. I think everybody's kind of welcomed me. I still think there's obviously room for my game to kind of grow and help this team more. And I know I'm capable of that, right? I think it's just taking time to learn the system, getting to know guys' tendencies, and building chemistry on the ice, and where to be at certain times on little things like that, right? Where you're just going to figure that out while playing, right? So I think there's still room for me to grow, but it's been a good transition.
How tricky is it to find chemistry, build a rapport with guys when the bingo balls are getting thrown around? And we joke about that in the media, but you want to find something, right? Yeah,
for sure. And I think that's also why the coach is kind of mixing them up as well, is just to juggle them and see what kind of clicks and everything like that, right? So I'm just trying to go out there, focus on my game, just do what I can and focus on that, and just be a good kind of team player, and go out and just worry about my game, right? And I think all the other pieces will kind of fall into place, and lines and things like that, right?
Great answer. Okay, you guys have broken through for 6 goals, 2 of the last 4 games. I know the weekend was a bit trickier, different types of games, but do you feel like things are starting to align and there is something starting to brew here in a good way?
Yeah, I think game by game, even when we're not scoring, we're still, I feel, producing more kind of offensive chances, right? And that's what you want to see, right? And each game there's things that we could do better and things that we're doing well, and we just got to continue to build, right? It's not gonna there's a lot of new pieces, a lot of line combinations, right? So it's not gonna all just happen at once, right? It's a tough game, right? It's a competitive game, and it takes time for good things to happen, right? So I think we all just kind of got to stick with it, keep building, keep grinding, and obviously the 6 goals is nice, and just being able to create and those type of offensive chances will help us.
Hey, the Rangers, you guys beat them earlier in the season. That was just the 3rd game of the year at MSG. Different type of game. I know that road trip wasn't great, but how different do you think you guys are right now compared to where you were a few weeks ago, and what do you expect against them?
I don't think the Rangers game was one of our better games. Like I said, I think we've been continuing to grow and continuing to build, right? The Rangers are a good team, and they got a lot of good players, and they're going to come out strong. They're a hard-working team, so we got to be ready for them, and we got to just continue to focus on us and keep building our game, and keep doing the little things that'll help us.
Great chatting with you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, that was Andrew Mangiapane. Very easy to chat with, and great to meet him and talk with him a little bit. And he likes the hot sandwich, the hot panino from Italian Center Shop, like all of us. Who's the only one that can't handle the heat? There's someone in the studio. That's you. You have to get the mild? Oh, Benny Thompson.
I know.
Benny Thompson. Mamma mia. Come on.
Double meat, no veggies on the Edo order, and now I can't eat spicy food. I know. I'm bad.
Oh boy. All right. You can text us. We got a couple minutes left. 780-218-9999. Tom Gazzola, Ben Thompson with you on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Big thank you to Stephen Wino for stopping by. You heard from Cass with Game Changers earlier. And then that was Andrew Mangiapane. This text says, man, I wish the Oilers goaltending was bad, quote unquote, enough to get to 916. Yeah, that would be a great problem if you want to go with that type of verbiage. Yeah. And then I want to get to this one, Benny. This text came in a little bit earlier in the show. It said, what moves do you guys anticipate the Oilers making when they get healthier? I think we assume Howard will be set down, but any idea on who they might be moving out? I think it's easy to point and look at Lazar as being a candidate for that. Unfortunately, I love Curtis Lazar. Covered him when he was in Oil King. He's a great guy. Just it's where they're at right now. I think there's been indicators with him only playing a couple of games, and then this is not going to be popular. But I just say it because of what we've seen from the coaching staff. It might be Noah Philp.
Yeah, it might be.
It might be like that. They clearly don't see him as a top 12 on this roster, and they keep sitting like they've sat him a bunch. So I don't necessarily love it, Benny, but that's who they might look at. And then I know people have been asking about Janmark and like a potential trade, but what I was told, I checked up on this week, nothing really right now. And then just given his contract and being in the second year of his deal, doubtful. But I was told there has been interest in Janmark from other teams in the past, and teams that do like him a lot. That was what I was told.
Interesting.
Chew on that. Yeah.
I'm curious. I don't know if the Oilers, because I think they value Janmark pretty highly. I mean, you've seen in just the opportunity he's given. I think they look at him when you're a team that's pushing for a Stanley Cup. A fourth liner that has been a career fourth liner that does his job well, and he just goes out and he just does his thing, plays his 9-10 minutes or whatever he plays a night. Those are valued pretty high because it's not a guy trying to get used to playing those minutes or used to playing that role. He's done it and he's been that for a while now.
Yes.
And so I think for the Oilers, I think they look at Janmark as a valuable piece in that sense. Like, we know what he is. We know he's good on the PK. He goes and he gives it his all for 10 minutes. He's not used to playing more minutes. I could see him. I don't see him getting moved. Noel Philp, though, for him it's tough because I was talking about it on the last post-game show. It's like I don't get all don't get me wrong. I understand he's played very well, and when the Oilers were bad there I shouldn't say when the Oilers have been bad for these first 10 games, he was a bright spot. Now, since they've been sitting him, there's where he sits in this depth chart for the coaching staff. So I don't get the fuss for him to push him to play more. It's like he's already getting sat when the team's not fully healthy. What do you expect when he's fully healthy? Or when the team's fully healthy? Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's going to be just one of those guys to me. It's an odd man out, and if that means send him down, we'll see. I guess we'll see how Ike Howard continues to develop. We've been saying that he it looks like he'll be the guy that gets sent down because he's the easiest to, but he's got 2 goals now, and it seems like he's trying to find his footing a little bit, get used to the NHL speed. So we'll see if he sticks around.
Well said, Benny. There were a couple texts in the nasty chat that were saying, Benny, this is from Box Pounder, says Benny needs some cool background stuff to show off like Tommy. Yeah, I'm in the satellite studios downtown Edmonton. Benny's back at EST Global HQ. We do have a light on the technical desk now. Yep. And there is a background that will be coming for our producers. So when they do the sports updates or whenever Benny's on pregame and postgame, it'll be a little bit jazzed up. But yeah, it's part of the move from our old studios to our new studios, kind of knocking off one thing at a time. There's been a lot on our plate. We did get the TV inside the boardroom, which is great. And someone cleaned up around the TV in the hangout area, which is fantastic. So it's coming along. There's a plan there, and we're definitely working on it. So we'll get Benny and the rest of the producers in their spot all jazzed up, and it won't look like a blank wall in a basement.
It very much does, yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
It's not looking like in a studio right now.
No, you are. There's TV lighting in there. It's just facing the other way with the backdrop and all the desk and the stuff that goes with it. But yes, we're working on that for sure. All right, Benny, good pregame show. Good stuff. Hey, nice work with the graphic on the one-on-one. Huge step up. I love that. Well done, sir. All right, that's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Big thank you once again to Stephen Wino from the Associated Press. Great stuff from him on the Rangers. And then Matt Kassian, our game analyst. And to everybody who watched and listened, we appreciate you. If you're new to EST, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We've got 12 hours of programming daily on top of Oilers pre and post game. When the Elks are playing, pre and post game there. We've got weekend content. So it's a full-on station that is your clear choice for sports in Edmonton. That's going to do it. We'll catch you on the post-game show following the Oilers and the Rangers. Ciao for now.